What's up, everybody? This is Chris, instructor here at 10th Planet Long Island. It's Monday, so I'm trying to drop some content for you guys to think about throughout the week. Coming off my last day of training, which was Sunday open mat, and usually I use Sunday night just to evaluate like how my training week went and what my focuses are going to be for the upcoming week. So right now I'm putting like a heavy focus on learning styles. Okay, so how I translate information to the students here at the school. My job as the instructor is not only to have my teaching style, but my job as the instructor is to identify how each student learns and be able to translate the information to them in the best way they accept the information, because everyone learns different. And just through teaching, seminars and private lessons, I'm starting to identify the different learning styles that I encounter with our students, and I've broken them down into 3 sections here. Okay, this is what I've experienced with our students. This may change, this may grow, this may consolidate, but as we are here right now, these are the sections I'm working with for each student, and these are the things I keep in mind, not only when I'm teaching a technique, but when I'm evaluating the students training the technique. I keep these sections in mind when I give them feedback. So the first one we're going to go over is the spectator. Okay, so the spectator is the student that watches the technique and then executes the technique. Now, they watch the instructor and the uke do the technique, sometimes multiple times, right? So sometimes 2-3 times the same technique over, sometimes 2 or 3 times with little different details. Sometimes some of our students can watch the technique 1 time and they got it. They watch the instructor demo the move 1 time and they go straight to drilling it perfectly. Okay, they just need that visual, and then they can execute the technique and drill it over and over again during class. Multiple times, right? That's when I use opportunities to add in details. If my opponent does X, if my opponent does Y, why do I take this underhook here as opposed to an overhook? Why is my posture up versus down? I'm showing the same technique over again with little details, and I try not to go on tangents with those details. I try to stick to the technique with adding in little what ifs that they will encounter when we go live. The spectator goes straight to executing. Okay, that's how he learns. He does the move. Okay, he watches, then he does. Now, for the spectator, these are some good things that they can use as tools off the mat, instructionals, right? So instructionals are great for the spectator. They get to watch the technique or the concept in various different forms, and they can study that. Match study. So this is something that I would tell a student, Sumigeshi, go watch Gordon versus Bushesha at ADCC, and I'll tell them, watch the match and you find the Sumigeshi execution and see how it gets set up, and then come back to me and let's talk about it. Okay, reels. Okay, Instagram reels, guys. Reels are a great option because for the most part they're 15 to 30 seconds, so it's not a long instructional that you have to watch. So if there's a technique that resonates with you, you can watch it multiple times over and over, 15 seconds, and just keep drilling that in your head, that mental drilling, and then come try to execute it at the gym. So I really like reels because it's just straight to the point. The technique, it's over, then it resets. You can just watch it over and over again. There's not much of an introduction, there's not much of a breakdown. It's just rewatching those 30-second reels. And then also the books. So I find myself utilizing mostly. I don't find myself as an instructional person necessarily. I find myself using the reels and the books because the reels obviously are cut down to that short portion that I can just rewatch. The books are at my own pace, so I can, like Saulo's book, Eddie's rubber guard book, Marcelo's book, everyone. I can just focus on a page, reread it, especially when it's broken down. I could reread it over and over again, look at the pictures at my own pace, and just focus on those sections that I'm focusing on. So that's our spectator, okay? Watches either multiple times or once, and then goes right to executing, drilling, okay? The tools they use: instructionals, match studies, YouTube, reels, and books, okay? The next section we're going to talk about is the participant, okay? This is the student that learns by executing, okay? So he's not necessarily learning while he's watching the technique, okay? But he gets into his groove as he does the technique, okay? So he skips the watching part, right? Either consciously or unconsciously. I find myself in this boat over here that during the watching portion of a technique, I might either be passively watching or not engaged or zoning out. But once I do the move, right, that information is still transmitting to me. Once I do the move, it clicks a lot quicker, okay? So I can be watching a technique at a seminar, at a class. I might not be as engaged, my intention might not be there, but once I do the move, it all clicks together for me. Interesting thing I'm learning with the participant is they learn by doing, okay? So they learn by actively doing the move, but when they're having an issue with that, I'm finding that having the move done to them is a huge tool I can use to have that click for them, okay? So if they're having trouble executing the move, I'll say, you know what, let me do it to you so you know what it feels like. Once they feel the move done to them, it's a lot easier them to execute it on the other person, okay? Another thing, sometimes the partner of the participant isn't giving the right reaction. So that can be very frustrating for the person trying to drill the move. That's a situation that I'll hop in and say, listen, do it to me. And I'll give them those perfect reactions so they know exactly what their body's doing and what to expect from their partner in terms of reactions, okay? For the participant, the tools that are going to be used by them most effectively is drilling, right? Grabbing a partner, drilling for time, for reps, whatever you prefer, and the live experimentation, okay? I will put myself in this category right here, live experimentation, okay? Now, obviously I'm gonna watch and try to stay engaged and take that information in. Obviously I'm gonna drill, right, and get the technique down at a slow pace. But for me, when the technique really starts clicking is when I try it out live with regular partners in open rounds, okay? Now, what is the difference between drilling and the live experimentation is resistance, okay? So when we're drilling, our partner isn't giving us much resistance, and they're giving us a specific set of reactions, okay? They know what reactions to give us so we can execute the technique, whether it's posting, you know, underhooks, overhooks, showing their back, not showing their back. They're giving us specific reactions so that we can execute the technique. During the live experimentation, all of this resistance, for me, are all different reactions, okay? These are not static moves. We're in scrambles. We're moving at a faster pace, so I'm getting different reactions. For me, that's super valuable when I can figure out all the different reactions, okay? When I start executing a new move especially, I want to know all the different reactions. A, B, C, D, E, all my partner's options, okay? So that I have plans for each reaction they give me, okay? When I drill, and I only drill a specific set of reactions, okay? I get really good at that reaction with my partner. Then when I go live and they give me a different reaction, sometimes I'm not prepared for that reaction and I can't execute the move, okay? So I like to take a experimentation period with moves. Just trying the move to see what the reactions are. I don't have an intention to execute the move perfectly. I want to see what different reactions they give me, okay? What do they do? Different body types, what do they do? How do they react to specifically, let's say like a sweep? How does a smaller person react versus a bigger person? Their base, right? Everything, their dexterity. All of that I have to take into account so that I have all these options in my head, all the reactions and all the counters to those reactions. So I put myself in this for learning. That's the easiest one for me. This whole experimentation period, I'll always refer back to this analogy of Dennis Rodman on the Bulls talking about his rebounds. So if you haven't seen that analogy, I'm going to drop it in the video.
But the angle of the ball and the trajectory of it. You got a Larry Bird, it's going to spin. We got a Magic, it may spin. When Michael shoot over here, I position myself right there. Now I hit the rim, it's boom, click and go back this way. Boom, here, click and go that way. Boom, that way. Click here and go back this way. So basically, I just start learning how to put myself in a position to get the ball.
Rebound, kept alive by Rodman.
Okay. Now, the third group we're going to call the Oculus. They're putting on the glasses, full immersion. They're feeling all the different senses while they're doing the move, okay? So they're not just watching, they're not just doing, okay? They're seeing the move, right? They're doing the move, they're feeling the move as they drill. And for this student group, it's super important for them that they're hearing the steps of the move as they do it. This is a great combo right here. As they do the move, I speak the steps of the move to them, and they can pick it up in that way, okay? These are students that the tools are actually the words, so they need to be coached through the drills. They need to be coached during the live rolls when they're trying to execute the technique, okay? And I find that these students need immediate post-roll feedback. So when they go for the technique live and it fails, as soon as the round is over and that's fresh in their head, I pull them, I say, go back to that position and pause, and let's talk about why it didn't work. Okay, while it's fresh in their head. They just tried to execute it, something went wrong with that. Let's get back to that position, show me exactly what you were doing, and let's break down why it didn't work. So I find that these students need to spectate first, right? Then they need to participate, and then we bring it all together in the Oculus form. They're gonna do the technique, and I'm gonna walk them through step by step each part of the technique while they're doing it, okay? And we're gonna pause if a certain part of the movement isn't resonating with them, okay? This is where a lot of like analogies come in, okay? I find it very valuable to find the correct analogy that resonates with a person for them to execute a movement. So I'll give you an example. This morning at the 6 a.m. we were going over a toe bar, okay? Now, the analogy I find that's super helpful is that the bottom arm, elbow stays under your lat, and I'm pulling the toes to my chest, almost as if I'm doing a row at the gym, okay? So my elbow is in and I'm pulling. That analogy might resonate with somebody who's familiar with the gym and familiar with what a row is. If not, I have to come up with a better analogy to explain how to move their arm, okay? So this Oculus section, we're trying to stimulate all their senses. We're speaking the moves, we're doing the moves, we're letting them feel the moves, and the feedback's super important, okay? The feedback, right away, okay? As soon as the move that they're trying to execute fails, we're trying to address it right away and walk them through it. So that sticks in their muscle memory, okay? I'm supposed to go to my knees, not to my side, okay? Very important with this group is, I find valuable talking about right or left, okay? I wanna make my feedback as clear and concise as possible. So instead of saying something like, we need an underhook, we say something like, we need an underhook on the right side, okay? And how does that underhook work? I'm gonna tell them, look, try to act like you're throwing a baseball over your head, right? Because we're reaching with our underhook, it's active. I can say we need a right underhook and they can put their arm in as an underhook, right? But I need to explain to them that it needs to be active. So I'm throwing on that 45-degree angle with my underhook, okay? So these are things that I found to be super helpful, especially right-left, okay? Because calling out a move, especially during a live match, there can be a huge difference if they go for the left versus the right and the execution of the technique, and going the wrong way could really put them in a bad spot. That can be frustrating when you're in a live match. Okay, if you get frustrated, you're not going to be executing. So guys, this is just a little bit of a preview. I'm going to be doing a popcast Wednesday night with a behavior specialist. Okay, so if you're interested in this idea of learning styles, okay, I'm gonna be going over my perspective from a coach instructor point of view, and my guest is gonna be going over more of like a behavioral analytical position, how the brain works, how they accept that information, how they logistically learn. So it'll be a really cool conversation about how we can use that not only when we're teaching, but us as the learner as well. How do I learn? How do I process the information? I need to identify that too, okay? So if you're interested about hearing more about this, definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel. So Wednesday night we'll be live on YouTube, live on Instagram. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. And for any kind of content like this, if you're looking to watch more stuff like this, definitely follow the Evolve Institute page on Instagram. Okay, all of the Evolve staff will be sharing content like this in the future. So for the most up-to-date updates, just give that page a follow so you're in the know. Okay, you guys have a great week of training.